All right, we're just going to get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Sunday afternoon for another Humanities Heart to Heart. I'm going to call our guest, Brandy Burgess, now. Thank you so much for your patience as we figure out these technical issues. We're going to run this video. I'm just going to put Brandy on speakerphone, and we'll go from there. This is a pandemic live experience.
Hello.
Hi, Brandy. You're on speakerphone.
Okay.
All right, and we're going to just start our live segment. So I'm going to just start off by introducing myself. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Kathleen Kuo, and I'm a program manager for Nevada Humanities. We are your state's affiliate for the National Endowment for the Humanities. We create public programming that shares and amplifies the stories, ideas, experiences, and traditions of the diverse people of Nevada. I'm the curator behind our newest program series, Humanities Heart to Heart, which is a series of essays and multimedia presentations that reflect on what it means to be human during a time of pandemic. Every week we share new pieces on our website, and we also promote them through social media. I am so happy you're here watching us today. Thank you for bearing with us as we sort of sort through all of these technical issues. Today our guest is Brandy Burgess. Brandy is an educational technology specialist at a Catholic high school in Reno. She holds a Master's of Religious Education from Loyola University, New Orleans, and she also serves as a religious educator for adults. Brandy wrote a piece entitled Combining Like Terms for our program, which you can find on our website if you haven't seen it already, and I really encourage you to check it out. So, Brandy, you're on speakerphone.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually outside on our deck in really nice weather.
I'm glad, yeah. Finally feels like fall, for sure.
Yes.
So, Brandy, one thing I wanted to ask you, and there's so many things I want to ask you, but you have so many diverse interests. You know, you're interested in writing, editing, comic books, religion, technology. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how all of these converge and relate on your end.
So the important thing for me is really the theme of communication. In each of these things, I am trying to either sort of solve a communication issue or try to understand a communication issue or even work on my own personal communication with others. So when you look at something like education technology, given our current experience of online social media, I want to better equip children as they grow into adults, especially in high school, to understand how to communicate with each other and with the rest of the world going forward. And if you look at something like religious education, how is it that we are thinking of religion? How are we communicating our ideologies or different religious theology? How is that coming across, and how are we understanding other people's ideologies? So in each of these, I'm trying to find that common thread and that connection with other people.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, so just drawing from that, one thing that connects a lot of people in sort of this fan community is comics. And we actually have a question in the chat. Kenny asked, what is your favorite comic book? Is there anything you're reading right now?
I have a lot of favorite comics.
I know, it's hard. Favorite anything?
One of my favorite comics is Superman's Secret Origin. I think it's like the first issue, and it's basically talking about how Clark Kent ends up with Ma and Pa Kent, and like it's amazing how he goes from that to being a boy, being Superman, and people don't understand like this weird alien that has all these powers. Very similar to the film Man of Steel, which gives a more realistic spin on Superman, like what would happen if we had this alien come to Earth? Like, how would we communicate with him? Would we reject him? Would we accept him? again, there's that theme of communication, but I really do enjoy that particular comic.
I have to check it out. I'm actually not a comics reader, not because I'm not a fan, but just because I feel so overwhelmed. Like, I don't know where to start. It's like any other TV show. Like, I'm like, oh, this looks so interesting. But then I see there's like, I don't know, like 100 episodes, and I just get sort of a viewer's paralysis.
I usually go for like finished series. So like if I'm feeling overwhelmed with something, I'll be like, okay, what's a run that's already done? They're not making new art for it. They're not having new writing come out for it. And just like start with that and then work on other things.
Yeah. And then Brandy, I know you said your comic interest is also sort of, maybe it sort of affected or motivated you to pursue a degree in religious education, right?
Yes. So within comics, I've noticed there's that theme of mythology, and so you have like the gods. So if we go back to Superman or Wonder Woman, they have these godlike powers, and people look up to them. And a lot of that comes from Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and for me, I am Catholic, so I'm Roman Catholic, and it makes me think differently about how I perceive God and others around me. And I realized that was a really intense interest for me. And so I thought, well, what if I went to school to study this? And I didn't even know what religious education was. I hadn't heard of it. I just thought, I'll probably go get some random degree in theology. But religious education specifically for me was important because it's not just the process of indoctrinating someone, but it's really going through and sort of forming a practical theology and saying, how does this work in my own life? And not, you need to do this, and this is what will work for you and everyone because one size fits all, but how is this going to work in my own life? How am I going to practice this, and how am I going to help someone cultivate their own personal theology, their own view of the world? How can I do that while also helping them engage with others who have vastly different ideas and vastly different views of the world? So that was how those two things connected, and it was a really happy coincidence.
Yeah, I really love that. I want to follow up a little bit, just talking about, connecting with others during this time, during a pandemic. So, as I was introducing you, I mentioned that you work at a high school, you're active in your parish. How have those experiences been affected by all that's been going on the last few months?
It's so, like I wrote in my piece, I always kind of felt like I was sort of very, very alone and just sort of off to the side by myself. And I never really, like I said in my piece also, had a great relationship with math, but one of my coworkers is, of course, a math teacher at the high school. And I knew that I wanted to write about my experience of the pandemic. And where the title comes from is I was standing in her classroom working with one of the students on a Wi-Fi issue, ironically. And she was explaining the concept of combining like terms. She said combining like terms is when we take one constant or a number and we combine it with other similar constants. And I remember she pulled out a couple of numbers from the number line and was like, if you combine this with something like 0, what would you get? And in my mind, I answered, I said 0. And I was like, I'm not right, this is a statistics class for like really smart kids. And one of the kids raised their hand and they said, yeah, you would get 0. She's like, you're correct. And I was like, what? And so in that moment, I thought, well, if I can think about that mathematically, how can I sort of take that and think about the rest of my life? And I thought, what is similar in my life, or what is it that I think that I'm not understanding that maybe I need to go back and look at again. And so that was really the inspiration for the piece, me going back and saying, okay, these things are similar. These things are how I'm experiencing the world right now. And so I'm feeling alone, or feeling lonely because I'm seeing myself as alone, but alone and lonely are not necessarily the same thing. So those are not like terms. And just going through my life down the line like that. But overall, it was pretty stressful in the beginning to sort of be away from people, which was strange because I've always considered myself a very introverted person. I thought, wow, like buckets of alone time, this is great. And then that quickly wore off. But especially in my work and in communicating with the adult students from my parish, I was really glad to find myself sort of more in my niche with technology and communication and really keeping up with them, following up with them, seeing how things were going in their own lives, making sure that I could be of the utmost support to the students and to the staff and to the parents. Right. But it really gave me a chance to sort of hone in on my skills, whereas I had actually just started working there at the high school last year. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay, this is new. Like, let's see if I know what I'm doing. But it really gave me a chance to sort of come in to my own and say, no, I know what I'm doing. And so that was a really good thing in the end for me.
Yeah. We actually have a comment in chat says, I felt the same way. I always feel I'm an introvert, but to be isolated from everyone, friends, family, students, it's really trying. And I think that just resonates so much with what you're just saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And Brandy, you said there was one thing you did, when you're feeling a little bit burnt out or when you just felt like you couldn't write, you turned to, what was it? Was it animated shorts during this time?
Yes. So before I felt like I could write about the pandemic, I felt like I never wanted to write again. And that was pre-pandemic. I really just sort of like wanted to take a break, and then it turned into a really long break. But I realized that I needed to give my brain a break from the idea that I had to constantly produce content of some kind, that I had to constantly be creating. And so I said, why don't I just give myself the enjoyment of other people's creations? And so one of the things that I love is animated short films. I just like to sit there and like watch them because they're really quick, 7 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by. You don't have to sit there for 2.5 hours watching the same movie if you don't want to. And that allows you to get through several pieces of content in a pretty short span of time. And so I gave myself the enjoyment of being able to experience that without having to write about it. With the comics, it got a little bit difficult towards the end because sometimes I just wanted to read the comic and not write about it. Sometimes I just wanted to watch the anime and not review it. And I was like stuck in like this contract of like, oh yeah, I said I would write this many words about it. And it was sad because it got a little bit boring, but this way I gave myself the chance to say, you know what, like I can just sit here and enjoy other people's content or their creations or their work and not feel like I have to have something to say on it, because sometimes we don't have anything to say on it. Sometimes it's better to sit in the profound silence and just think about what you've just seen. And like I was saying before, with our previous conversations, I would strongly encourage any creators, writers, artists, when you reach that point where you feel like, oh no, like I have to constantly be creating, like take a step back and give yourself some space. It's not always about creating. I know with writing, one of the really big things is you have to write every day. You have to be consistently writing every day. And I don't write that way personally. I've never written that way. I think I mentioned before, I don't like journaling.
Yeah.
So I don't do it. But every writer is different. Every artist is different. The ways that we work are unique to us. And those are the ways that we communicate with the world. Those are the ways that we express ourselves. Because if we're all writing morning pages, like, what's different about that? Like, how are we going to get out our internal thoughts and our inner world out in a way that could maybe connect with someone else? So,
yeah, that is such good advice. Brandy, I'm just, thank you again just for sharing all of, I don't want to say like pearls of wisdom, because that's such like an old fashioned saying, but maybe like just like nuggets of like advice, like moving forward for everyone. I feel like we can just all benefit from that. And especially during a time when we have to adjust and just be really flexible, like even with this heart-to-heart live, like both of us trying to figure out what's going on. But I think there's just something really special about just going with the flow and understanding this is just, a product of the times, and we just keep moving forward.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have any last questions or comments from anyone in the chat? Brandy, is there anything else that you'd like to say to our viewers?
Not really, but thanks everybody for bearing with us. I know you can't see my face, but it's really great to be here, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to talk to you guys and to talk about what I do, because this is really what I love doing. And so I'm just happy to talk about it anytime.
Right, yeah. And I mean, your work with just connecting people with communication, it's so important, more than ever. So again, this video is going to be archived on our Instagram page. We'll put it up on Vimeo so everyone can see it, because I know, Sunday, people might be sleeping in or going shopping, but people can see this video later. And just for, all of our humanities friends and family who are watching this, just thanks again for taking the time to listen to me and Brandy talk. And I hope you can just, keep reading and watching along with us with the Humanities Heart to Life series. And if you don't already, check out our website, our social media. We see you, or we update every week. So, thank you again so much, Brandy. I hope you have a great weekend, rest of your weekend. I hope everyone else watching this does too.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care. Bye, Brandy.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.